Welcome to a new month, a new quarter, and a brand new version of the Gavel. I am Terry Ikumi. So what's new about the Gavel? Well, understanding parliamentary processes could be somewhat confusing, so we've introduced a new segment with our partners, the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC, to break down weekly activities of Parliament and simplify proceedings and pieces of legislation. Also, where necessary, PLAC would be advising the National Assembly, considering that for many years, PLAC has provided and is still providing various forms of developmental support and capacity building to members of Parliament. That segment will come in the second half of the program. So welcome once again. And to begin with, here's what transpired in both chambers of the National Assembly this past week.
In the upper chamber within the week, a motion of urgent national importance on the importation of substandard petrol and diesel into the country was considered and adopted as the Senate resolved to carry out an investigation.
Also note that the quality of the said diesel is below the Nigerian standard in terms of flash and sulfur levels. Also aware that NMDPR has persistently continued to issue import licenses for diesel and jet fuel despite sufficient local production capacity.
I wonder how the same agency of the government will import into the country adulterated diesel. We demand that we need a major reform. Head must roll in the Nigerian Petroleum Corporation and even other agencies of the government that are saddled with this responsibility.
The upper chamber, also within the week, went into a closed-door session to discuss the conflict between the senator representing the FCT, Senator Ireti Kingibe, and the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike. The outcome was not disclosed. In the meantime, sequel to a motion by Senator Haruna Manu, the Senate resolved to launch an investigation into transactions for the Mambila hydroelectric power project from 1999 to date.
With its capacity to generate 3,050 megawatts and reposition the Ajakotu Steel Complex with $1.7 billion makes it a priority project of national importance. Worried that the volume of contradictory information about the project might hinder the actualization of the good objectives and the benefits it brings to the good people of Nigeria.
The upper chamber equally resolved that in reviving the project, the original plan of 3,000 megawatts capacity be maintained. Still in the upper chamber within the week, a motion of urgent national importance was raised by the Senate Chief Whip, Senator Ali Ndume, on a suicide attack in Goza, Borno State on June 29, where over 30 persons were killed and scores injured.
The victims were mainly civilians returning from a wedding ceremony where the assailant was identified.
Lawmakers raised significant concerns over the absence of adequate technology to advance security in the region.
It costs nothing for the intelligent army to get devices in their phone to know where these notorious criminals live. As I'm here, I check my phone regularly and I know the number of guns that are very close to me here. There are over 277 guns.
An additional prayer was rejected when it was put to vote.
Under the supervision and oversight of this National Assembly, previous service chiefs diverted money to build universities in their various communities. Those are the kind of resources that should have been used to procure modern technology. We saw that the Navy even appropriate money to buy a yacht. That is why the oversight responsibility of this Senate is extremely important, to prevent the armed forces to prioritize in a manner that coincides with what we think the Nigerian Army should be doing.
Meanwhile, the minority leader, Senator Abba Moro, in a separate interview, reiterated the belief that President Bola Tinubu will sign the bill into law to pave the way for improved development in north-central Nigeria, which encompasses Kogi, Niger, Benue, Kwara, Plateau, Nasarawa, and the Federal Capital Territory.
Don't forget that we have reiterated time without number that the concomitants of this displacement and inability to go to the farm will eventually lead to food insecurity. It's a major problem. Until recently, Benue State had been the food basket of Nigeria. And if you move down to Niger, Niger also produces a lot of food items. Plateau had been the fulcrum of vegetables and other food items. So the North Central actually controls the food requirements of Nigeria. And so it is my hope that this bill that has been passed now will be assented to by Mr. President if it goes through the crucible of concurrence from the House of Representatives. And when that is done, we definitely will settle down, activate the commission, put in appropriate machinery, especially staffing, and then we're good to go.
Meanwhile, the suicide bombing was also debated in the lower chamber as the lawmaker representing the area gave fresh information while calling for intensified efforts to prevent a recurrence.
The 30 young men who lost their lives ranges between the ages of 35 downward, including teenagers and infants. The suicide bombers, after identifying their faces, it was discovered that they were recruited, they were drugged, they were brainwashed, and they were imported to come to Gaza from somewhere to cause this issue. They came in uniform, what is normally called in the northern part of Nigeria Anko.
In their contributions, lawmakers preferred what they believe to be solutions.
We can call on the president to sack all security political appointees. All political is 10 months. All of them have been in office for 10 months. Even if you are given a job, you have a probation of 10 months. If you're not living up to expectation, you don't get your confinement after 1 year.
These young people that are unemployed can find solace and hope in being in one state, in a state police, a local government police arrangement.
The issue of state police, sir, I will tell you for free, I will not go for it. You know what the governors are doing, how they are cajoling, how they are manipulating the states. They are complaining they cannot pay 60,000 naira now for minimum wage. You want to go and add another branch of problem to them, and at the end of the day, you will arm them, and then they will have more sophisticated armed robbers in the country.
The matter is referred to the Committee on National Security and Intelligence for further investigation.
Alleged mismanagement of
another matter that received the attention of Parliament was the alleged mismanagement of funds allocated for improving agriculture across the country.
The House is here invited to mandate the committees on nutrition and food security, agriculture production and services, and agricultural colleges and institutions to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the alleged misuse of government interventions and agricultural funding by departments, agencies, schemes, and programs of the federal government outside of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, and report back to the House within 4 weeks.
Now, the House of Representatives, in collaboration with the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center and Conrad Adenauer's Think Tank, organized the 2024 Legislative Open Week from Wednesday the 3rd to Friday the 5th of July. The event, which seeks to improve inclusion through citizens' engagement, coincides with the commemoration of the country's 25 years of uninterrupted democracy. There was an opening ceremony, panel sessions, and exhibitions. Take a listen. The Open NASS Week by the House of Representatives was well attended. The welcome address by the Deputy Speaker of the House set the ball rolling.
Building strong partnership is essential for our work. Thus, we must continue to work with civil society organizations like Conrad, like Yaga, like PLAC, the International Republican Institute, the IRI, and the Institute for Democratic Engagement and Accountability, IDEA, to deepen engagement with all Nigerians, including those with disabilities.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation promised improved collaboration with Parliament.
A nation experiences development only when the citizenry actively engages in the democratic process. Under my leadership, The executive stands ready to work collaboratively with the legislature to create the needed legislative framework that fosters inclusion.
This was followed by goodwill messages.
While we may be quite happy that we have unbroken 25 years of legislature, that we also have the challenge that for a lot of people, they may actually themselves be broken and be unserved by the democracy that we currently practice.
As Africa's largest democracy, the consolidation of democratic values and practice matters not only for Nigerian citizens, but for the African continent and beyond.
Democracy can only continue to thrive and survive if we continue to do what is right.
Our democracy thrives when every voice is heard and every citizen feels part of the process and can take part in the process.
Public concerns about the cost of running parliament and the living standard in the country were also addressed.
Let me say this, and I'm saying it because it is the truth. My allowances, everything as a speaker then, was 25 million naira. There was never a time that money lasted 3 days.
Standing here to make any excuses about our salaries, about our allowances, will not be entertained by Nigerians. What we need to do is to reduce the level of poverty, level of unemployment, create jobs for our people, and most importantly, also try as much as possible to come with very robust legislation that can strengthen some of the institutions that need to be strengthened.
At the heart of every governance issue is the matter of transparency, accountability, and honesty. What this open week does for us today is that it enables the people, as was said by a previous speaker, to not just talk to the people, but also to interact with them.
The need for transparency was further buttressed by the Speaker of the House.
We are dedicated to maintaining open lines of communication with the public and to continuously improving our processes to ensure greater transparency and accountability. By doing so, we aim to strengthen the democratic process and build a more inclusive and responsive legislature. We believe sustained engagement with citizens will lead to more effective governance and a stronger, more resilient democracy.
The second day of the Legislative Open Week of the House of Representatives featured an interactive session on the role of the traditional institution in national development and security. The session was moderated by the Speaker.
Today is the day we set aside to discuss mutually, frankly to each other, what we need to do to ensure that our traditional institutions have a say in the affairs of this country.
Before the colonialism of the colonization of Nigeria by the British, we had this institution operating very well, knowing our cultures, protecting our values, and promoting our interests. We need security votes in our domain. It's quite very important, because with that we'll be able to control and then work seriously on the way forward in order to tackle the security of our domain.
Traditional institution is the only institution that is everywhere. I feel that is the institution you can use to solve most of the challenges, especially in the area of security, as it concerns security in Nigeria.
There should be constitutional provision to protect a traditional ruler once he has been installed. In the various states, traditional rulers should be made member of the State Security Council.
The president of the Nigeria Bar Association lent his voice to calls for recognition of traditional institutions.
Some of these laws
upon which these institutions are predicated today are archaic. They do not allow the traditional institutions to perform in the way that they can bring this value that all of us agree they have to bring to bear in dealing with our national issues. And so I would want to recommend there is nothing wrong in creating a constitutional role for the traditional institutions.
Welcome back to the Gavel. Now to our news segment, which will feature weekly. As Nigeria celebrates 25 years of uninterrupted democracy, here's the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, PLAC's take on 25 years of unbroken legislature, even as the House held its Legislative Open Week.
The House of Representatives did have its open week, which was an opportunity for the House itself to display its work and showcase what it has done in the last 1 year since the 10th National Assembly was inaugurated. I did see a bit of that, and I think a lot of people were invited to speak, and the National Assembly presented, the House of Representatives presented what it has accomplished in 1 year of its work in the 10th National Assembly. I think that for a lot of people, it is to measure how what it has accomplished in the last 1 year matches its promise of delivery on the 10th legislative agenda that PLAC had helped the National Assembly to develop. And when we look at the 1 year, but also look at the 25 years of the legislature, I think, first of all, it is to say that it's important that the House of Representatives is doing what it is doing, the National Assembly is doing what it is doing. But I think that 25 years of unbroken legislature by a representative assembly is something that we are very, very happy to mark. And I think it's something that a lot of Nigerians, and unfortunately a lot of Nigerians, did not see, especially for those who are very much younger, did not see the brutality and pain of military dictatorship in this country. So for those Nigerians who didn't see that, I think that there's an important need to celebrate, because if you saw that, then you would appreciate the value of having an unbroken legislature for 25 years. But the expectations are high. National Assembly needs to be aware of it. National Assembly needs to be aware that living conditions today are very desperate, and people are suffering. Government is not meeting expectations of people. And we had expected that in celebrating 25 years of the legislature, that National Assembly would have opened up its chambers so that people can speak in plenary, and this would communicate that people have access to the legislature in the way that they should. I think National Assembly needs to open up itself to further engagement with citizens. The provisions regarding public hearings are very important. They're in the rule books of the National Assembly. We have seen a few laws passed without the National Assembly giving the required 2 weeks notice for people to study the laws and come to it. A recent example, the Cybercrime Amendment Act that was sought to be passed by the National Assembly, requiring citizens to be taxed even more. Didn't understand that you needed to take input from citizens. Citizens are overburdened right now. The levels of taxation is incredible. People pay money into their bank accounts, and before they open their eyes, you've had more than 12, 15 taxes take monies away from their bank accounts, including frivolous taxes by the banks themselves. The National Assembly needs to understand that earnings have dropped severely. The power of earnings has dropped severely, and that people need to be protected against exploitation and unfair taxation. That, I think, is what the National Assembly needs to be very conscious of. But more importantly, The level of frivolousness in spending in the country is incredible. And this is exacerbated and much more pronounced by the fact that as we speak, the country is operating 3 budgets from 2023 to date, including the 2023 budget, the supplementary budgets of 2023, the 2024 budget, a possible supplementary budget of the 2024 year. I think that the National Assembly needs to really understand that citizens are unhappy when they see the affluence of spend by government and see how much they scrounge to get the next meal.
Well, this week on Constituency Focus, Senator Haruna Manu, representing Taraba Central Senatorial District, gives an account of his representation to his people.
As legislator, we don't need to be urged. We've always been intervening when it comes to when people are in their need. And that period wasn't an exception. So I intervened in my constituency, and so also many senators too. And my constituents are very, very happy with the intervention. During my campaign, part of what my constituent asked, my constituency, let me say, my senatorial district, maybe perhaps is the only senatorial district that is not connected to the national grid. Out of the 5 local governments that I'm representing, just 1 local government is connected. That's my local government, which I connected when I was the deputy governor then. But the remaining 4 local governments are not connected to the national grid. And throughout the campaign period, especially the youths, that's what we've been saying. We want to be connected to the national grid. And thank God, in this budget, in the budget of 2023, one of the local governments, there is a funding to connect that local government to the national grid. And then now that supplementary too is coming, the second local government is coming. So I think this is one of the major things that especially during my campaign, my constituents have been asking. Of course, the second issue is the issue of the Mambila. I happen to come from that senatorial district where the famous Mambila hydroelectric power project is cited. This is one project that is very, very dear to my heart, to ensure that the whole of Taraba Central is being connected to the national grid. And I'm sure in the next 2 budget cycle, by the special grace of God, Taraba Central will be connected to the national grid. If there is any project, if there is one single project that I want to achieve, is to ensure that Taraba Central is connected to the national grid, because currently we are the only senatorial district in the whole of Federation that is not connected to the national grid. Of course, there are other projects. For example, we have like the Takalapia projects and road projects and even the Mambila continuation of the Gashaka to Sardauna road, because it's a federal road. And of course, there are so many, the Jalingo Yola road too, is dilapidated. Yola to Numan, Jalingo to Mutumbiu to Ukari. These are major projects, road projects that are on Trunk A road. And those roads are not passable now. And they are major Trunk A roads. So we hope that during our time in the National Assembly, the federal government will look into those roads.
And it's a wrap on the Gavel this week. We anticipate your feedback via email or social media. I'm Terry Kumi. Goodbye.